What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hardwood Blaze. This video is going to be focused on my top 25 90s movies. All right, let's get started. First one is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I remember seeing this opening night when it came out, when it premiered in the theaters. I think out of all the Terminator movies, this is probably would be my number one favorite, my number one pick of them. And it's got a cool soundtrack of Guns N' Roses. Next up we have some Tarantino. Tarantino was definitely a game changer in the 90s with films like Reservoir Dogs, one of my old-time favorite Tarantino. Next up we got another one, Tarantino classic, Pulp Fiction. Little inside cover art. Vincent Vega. Next up we have Rodriguez and Tarantino in From Dusk Till Dawn. It's my second favorite vampire movie, next to The Lost Boys. And as far as vampire movies in the 90s, Dusk Till Dawn will be my number one vampire pick of the 90s for sure. Next up we have Species. This is another great 90s horror. Show the disc. Next up we have Dark City, starring one of my favorite all-time actors, Kiefer Sutherland. This movie is a trip. I don't know how many. I watched this movie countless times, and I'm not even trying to figure it out completely. But it is a great 90s movie. Dark City. Next up we have one of my top favorite 90s comedies, would be Friday, the original. Chris Tucker as Smokey. Next up on my 25 90s movies, I think I said that all mixed up. Next on my list, top 25, The Replacement Killers. It's a great movie. Mara Sorvino, oh man, she kicked some booty in this movie. Great movie. Great action movie of the 90s. Next up we have Kevin Smith favorite, Dogma. Well, next up we have Silence of the Lambs, the original. I watched the rest of the series, but this one right here is good enough for me. I really enjoyed this movie. And Anthony Hopkins, he kills it in this movie as Hannibal Lecter. Next up we have Leprechaun. Another one of my all-time 90s horror favorites. Next on the list we have Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, starring Christian Slater. You got Steve Buscemi in it. There's quite a few actors. James Remar from The Wanderers. Ray Dong Chung, Tommy Chong's daughter, is in it in one of these episodes. Buster Poindexter. Several small stories, horror based. Alright, back to the list. We got Pet Cemetery 2, Mr. Furlong. We have another Kevin Smith classic, Mallrats. Next up on the list we have, a classic, Demonic Toys. If you haven't seen this one yet, check out the trailer online and order the movie. You will not be disappointed if you're a true horror fan. This is just way out of control and silly, but it's such an awesome movie. Next up we have the Candyman. Another classics. Just when you thought slasher genre was dead in the 90s, here comes the Candyman. Next up we have The Sixth Sense, starring Bruce Willis. This is another great movie right here. I have to put that on the watch list. Oh yeah, we have another 90s silly but yet a great classic, Mars Attacks. What a great film, and what a list of the actors in this movie is just ridiculous. How many actors they got to get in this movie. Jack Nicholson kills it. Alright, next up we have a Ben Affleck, The Phantoms. Another enjoyable 90s horror. Next up we have End of Days, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's nuts. Like the first half of this movie, every time I watch it, I think I'm just watching a regular action hero movie. And then it gets all dark and turns into a horror movie. But what a great movie. What a great movie. Next up we have Sleepy Hollow, starring Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci. Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman killed it. Alright, so next up we have The Relic. Great 90s horror monster movie right here. I don't know if you can see that rat back there somewhere, but man, what a killer film. If you don't have it in your collection already, suggest you order it, man. This is a straight up great horror monster movie. Alright, next up we have Judgment Night, starring Emilio Estevez. Also has Dennis Leary in there. This is another great 90s movie. Soundtrack, man, it is never-ending list of great performers on the soundtrack. You got Everlast, there's Cypress Hill, there's Be Real. Man, the list just goes on. The Lords of Brooklyn. That's right. Next up, we have a Stephen King classic, The Langoliers. Even though it has some cheesy special effects in it, this movie is great. Stephen King killed it with this story. Alright, last but not least, we have Leatherface. Save the best for last. This out of the 24 I just showed you, in the 90s, Leatherface was the one for me. Right there, that bad boy with that chainsaw. Look at that. Look at that. The saw is family, baby. And I'll tell you what, Leatherface killed it in this movie. Alright, once again, thank you for viewing my content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button. Have a safe and horror Friday. And I'll see you in a day or two with another video. Once again, stay safe and stay horror.